that's very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Get that crowd warmed up. Is Mr. Jehovah Tiger.
What's going on, guys? And welcome to another edition of the War Cry Podcast live, but also an episode. I appreciate you guys joining me on this Sunday evening. I'm going to be having Mr. Kevin Nez. Before I get him in here, if you guys in the chat below, as this fills up, please put a 1 if you can hear me. If you can hear me, put a 1. If you can't, then we'll adjust some things. But I've been having a little bit of technical difficulties. My jack on my phone decided to deuce out. It decided just to part to the other world, the other side, but that's all right. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring Mr. Kevin in now. Kevin, what's going on, man? Okay, I can't hear him. You can't hear me. Let's see here. Man, we might be back to the technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
How's that? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, man.
All right, that was on my end. I just realized that my mic wasn't on. So
dang, have me on mute now. Oh man, yeah, like I said, I apologize to everybody for that first, little bit. As I was saying earlier, man, my jack on my phone that I use StreamYard with, it don't even take it no more. I like plugged it in and I couldn't hear anything. Couldn't even hear myself. I was like, man, but anyways, so on this episode and on this live stream, I got Mr. Kevin Nez. He is the host of the Mac Nez Podcast and the E-Society Podcast. What's going on with you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just living and taking each day one day at a time. It's my my oldest grandson. It's his birthday's next weekend, but since Easter and all that, we decided to do it yesterday and today. So
dang, he got the double header, huh?
Yeah, so he's got pretty much everything today, and I'm sure he'll be expecting more next week.
Oh yeah,
so,
man,
we'll
and having an Easter baby too, man. That's kind of tough, especially like with you got all like a holiday, especially you try and get everybody together. But I guess it might be easy too because everybody can kind of hit two birds with one stone.
Yeah, this is from my daughter. She's the only one that has kids.
Okay,
but she's got two boys. Daniel will be 6 and Buster is 3. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, our hands are full.
Yeah.
But we love them to death.
Yeah, for sure. I have 2 under 2 right now, man. I'm like, jeez, it's dire straits over here, but no, man. So, in 2024, I put out the call. I gave that loud voice. I said, anyone can hear me, come on my show. And, I had you reach out and, I had to get you on. You've been a podcaster for a minute now. Could you go ahead and kind of people that may not know what's your podcast or what you got going on with your 2 podcasts, kind of let them know what you got going on with those things.
Well, I first started with the Mac Nez Podcast. I was kind of going through, or I am going through, a real difficult time in my life. I've been podcasting for since 2016 is when I started. Back in 2012, one of my second son, he passed away.
Mm.
So I needed something to keep myself level because I was just really just going through it. But I mean, my whole family was my other three kids and my wife, and I had to be that rock for everyone because we were just not in a good place. But other than me taking care of them and them taking care of me, I needed to try to stay focused. So I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I love horror films. So I was listening to a horror podcast, and I got it was one of the locals. I kind of got friends with them. I asked them if I can come in and sit in on a show with them, and I saw that what they were doing was like, oh, I can do this. This doesn't. It's just them talking about movies they love. So I sat down and I finally did it. I started on my phone, just recording some random things, and then just putting them out there. Didn't think anyone would listen, but I have listeners all over the world, so that's cool.
No, yeah, it is.
So, what podcasting did for me is it kept me kind of level-headed. It got me away from how I was feeling, just the depression. I was just kind of just all right. Let me level myself out because I'm not thinking about everything else. So I started talking about music. I started talking about movies and comic books, and I love wrestling, like WWE wrestling and all that. So I was talking about just random things to keep my head going. And then as I was going along, people started listening to the show, and people were reaching out. Hey, can I come on your show? And I'm like, yeah. So I started bringing on guests. And one of those guests I had was a buddy of mine. We go to San Diego Comic-Con. Well, back then, like every year, but then after that, it's been like harder and harder to get badges to go. But we lucked out this year. We're going.
Dang.
So we were at I believe it was 2016, like 16 or 17. I can't remember. We were talking about what we did that day, and he had never podcasted before. Shout out to my buddy Theo. And I said, dude, we should start doing more. So he kind of got the podcast bug. So we started doing just more things about this and that. We were huge Star Wars fans, so we were kind of bonded over that. And then I gave him the idea, you know what? Let's come up with another show. You can be the host. I'll be the co-host and the producer and put it all out. So we started the E Society. E can be whatever you want it to stand for. We kind of just figured it was for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys watched that show, Mr. Robot, he was a huge fan of Mr. Robot, and he was all about that F Society. So he turned it into E Society. So we started doing that. And we are, 300. We actually have 2 networks for E Society. I think we're like 3 something. I can't remember. Low 300s of the regular episode. But over on our Spotify feed, we're over 300 episodes over there. And our little E Society label kind of spawned off into multiple different sideshows. We got ESP Skate Society. I'm a skateboarder, so I love talking about skateboarding and talking to other skaters. And we just veered off into all these other little side things. And then once people started listening to me, other people started reaching out to me to be a part of their network. So I am also a part of the Horror Returns network. Just go to thehorrorreturns.com. Sometimes I'm on the regular show, but I do an action podcast with my buddy Brian. We're called the Action Returns. Then we do wrestling, the Wrestling Returns, and then we do another one based on all the streaming services. We find movies or whatever, and we talk about that, and that's called Stream Fiends. So all those shows that I'm a part of over on the Horror Returns network. But
man, you sound like you busy, man. You got all types of stuff going on.
Yeah, I am all over the board, and I just was on a show earlier today before we started with a gentleman in Australia. He's got a show, so I was one of his guests for that. So, but yeah, I'm all over the place, and I just try to keep busy. Other than taking care of my family and working, I live in California on the Susanville Indian Rancheria. That's where my wife is from. She's Paiute Pit River and Ho Chunk. I am a representative of the Navajo Nation
Mm.
from Arizona. I grew up in Oakland, California, my whole life. My parents are from the reservation down there. My father's from Kaibato, and my mother's from Indian Wells. So I spend my summers there all the time when I was a little kid growing up. So I knew of the res life because, like I said, I was just a little city Indian. So I
Mhm.
grew up there. That was home. Oakland was home to me, but having family spread out all over New Mexico and Arizona, it was good to see all of them and to visit the different parts of the res. I still haven't seen the whole res. Navajo Nation is pretty big.
Man, it's huge.
Yeah, but I get all over when I can.
You know,
And
I'm gonna ask you this. You know, on spending those times out in the summertime. You know, I'm gonna get people are gonna ask this question. Um, did you see anything out there when you was visiting? Was there any kind of when you was a
I
kid?
I've seen things that I cannot explain out there in the res. Here on the reservation I live on, and I even seen some stuff in the city as
Mm.
well as in our native community centers, and as well as growing up as urban youth, urban native youth. They would take us, especially during the summers. We would go camping, and elders would be there to help talk about the land and everything. And there was some things that they showed us that I was like, I was kind of when I was younger, I was real skeptical about a lot of stuff. But then as I started seeing things and talking to elders, I was like, all right, I believe there's our spirits are everywhere.
Mm.
And so, but yeah, man, it's some things I can talk about, some things I can't talk about.
For sure.
But a lot of the stuff I seen was, of course, it's gonna startle you and scare you. But then talking to elders are just saying they're not here to hurt you. Some are, but
Mm-hmm.
just what I've seen was just kind of like there. And I work at an airport in Reno, Nevada, and I've seen some things there because there's a lot of things going on at that airport that can be unexplained. Some
Man.
people don't believe in it, but the things I've seen and witnessed, I also hear other people witness things there. So, but it's
No,
fun.
yeah, that's one thing that's it's kind of crazy, especially when you got people coming and going. You got people, maybe they might not be, I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but it's just not right. You know what I'm saying? And you got all that different types of thing, and I want you to kind of think, in your head. I always like to end podcasts with the story. If you got any stories, we'll say that. Any ones that creepy or not anything, just to put that in your mind for later on. I'm sure. I'm sure you got a few of them, but just kind of get into my kind of first topic. I know you're a movie guy, huge movie guy.
You can see them all behind me.
I know you can tell. What'd you think, man, about Godzilla -1?
uh, Being a fan of Godzilla ever since I was a little kid, growing up watching all the kaiju monster stuff, I thought that movie was amazing. I wasn't expecting. I knew I was gonna like it, but I wasn't expecting what we got. It was just full on Godzilla. Of course, they throw the human element of the story,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes it bugs me because it really has nothing to do with Godzilla. But with this one was really good. So I just love what was happening.
Yeah, and that's one thing that that's different. Like here in America, we want to see stuff blow up. That's just what it is. And when I saw it in theaters, I couldn't believe they did so many references to those old kaiju movies. And I think the scene that I love the most is when he's tearing that train up when they're in the middle of the city, and they just rebuilt that city, and he started tearing that train up, and the soldier was like, he's like Godzilla, he was like screaming. I was like, dang, that's kind of bringing back, old, kind of an old type of vibe to that movie.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the one before that one, I believe, Shin Godzilla. That one was pretty good as well. But this one, I love the time period of after World War II in the
Mm-hmm.
1940s, after Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and everything that went with it. Man, it was just amazing. I wasn't expecting to cry or tear up in
Yeah,
a Godzilla film, but
man, that had
it
me.
was
I
awesome.
was at the brink, man. I'm sitting there like I'm like looking around, see anybody's looking at me. I was like, man, it made you feel some type of way, but that's one thing about those movies. I know the next Godzilla, the American version of that MonsterVerse is coming out this next weekend. Are you gonna check that out? Kong and Zilla.
I am. I'm not a fan of that series of films. They concentrate too much on the human element and not so much the Godzilla or the Kong. But the scenes when they do show the monsters in action, like in that last one, the
Mm-hmm.
first Godzilla or Kong versus Godzilla or whatever it's called, that was amazing when they were fighting out in the ocean.
Oh yeah,
But it's like if you actually do the time on how much monster action they show, it's really minimal.
like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so but I like when the monsters are on the screen. When it's all the humans trying to do this or that, I'm kind of like, yeah, I just lose interest
Yeah.
in it. But I think out of those series of films, the only one I really, really liked was Kong Skull Island.
Yep.
I thought that one was awesome.
Man, because it had that like that. I think one thing about Godzilla, we get. I guess everybody kind of knows the backstory, but Kong, they added that kind of mysterious element of what he is and where he's from and yeah, I would say Kong Skull Island's probably my favorite too on that one, but kind of another kind of recent. You mentioned earlier, man, you're a Star Wars guy. I'm not really big into Star Wars, man. The Daisy Ridley ones kind of, I don't know, man. They just wasn't hitting like how they used to. But I know that was it. Acolyte just came out. Was that the or was wasn't that a new movie coming out with Star Wars?
It's a TV series they're doing on
Okay.
Disney Plus. I assume it's like dealing with old Republic stuff. I'm not really sure because a lot of the stuff they're showing is before all the original Star Wars films. I mean, I've been a fan of Star Wars since the first one in '77. Being a 6-year-old kid, being
Mm-hmm.
amazed by what I was seeing on the screen, and then I was excited when the later films, Empire and Jedi, and then there was that big break of nothing, and then we got the prequels. It was Star Wars, and I was happy with it. Did I enjoy every one of them? I did, but they're not the greatest. And then there was another break, and then we got the last three of the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, that one was kind of. I had a guy. It was crazy. We were sitting in the theaters watching. I can't remember if it was the. I might have. That wasn't the last one. It was the one before, the one with Adam Driver. Um, and we're sitting there in Muskogee, I think is believe, or it might have been Broken Arrow, but we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, it's a real quiet moment in the movie, and all of a sudden you hear somebody snoring. I was like, dang, we ain't even 10 minutes into this movie, someone's already, man, like just hating. I was like, man, but guy, I think he was actually asleep because his daughters kept having to keep hitting him, and so that's kind of I guess my interpretation of those films, man. They just kind of I like that they brought Luke back, but and they kind of finished up the what was it, Palpatine? They finished him up a little bit in that, but I don't know, man.
From what I understood, J.J. Abrams had the story laid out for the three films, but then Brian Johnson came in and did the Last Jedi and just took the script that JJ wrote and said, "Okay, this is cool, but I have my own story." And that in my opinion, threw a wrench in the story that we were supposed to get. Because JJ was only going to direct that The Force Awakens, and that was it. But then after the middle one, he came back to try to do damage control and fix it and throw in what he could, because um I was not I mean, I enjoyed Last Jedi, but I was not that big of a fan on it, because when I found all that out, even the actors were like, yeah, it wasn't what we were supposed to do, but we made it anyway.
Yeah, we did what we had to do to get that
I was
check.
like, yeah, I was like, okay. But um I wish there was more to it, to that story. Obviously there is going to be more, because Ray is getting her own movie. I don't know when, but they're working on that. But with when Disney Plus came out and all the TV series that we've got, Mandalorian, what was amazing series, Ahsoka, we just got that first season, which was awesome. Obi-Wan, that was amazing. I was happy to see Ewan McGregor come back to reprise his role. Now we got the Acolyte. That's coming. Oh, we also had Boba Fett.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, yeah, Boba Fett, yeah.
Wasn't hashtag not my Boba Fett, because that's not what I grew up with, but I'm like, okay. But it was cool to see. I mean, we finally see how Boba Fett got out of the Sarlacc pit. So I was like, okay. But I want a little more. I grew up knowing Boba Fett as the most ruthless bounty hunter in the galaxy, and that's not what we got in the TV show. So, but I mean, it's Star Wars. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take whatever they're giving us. The show Andor, it was good, but it was really just kind of more of a dramatic Star Wars story. I mean, but it was okay. But I don't know. We'll see what we got more with this Acolyte.
Yeah, and that's one thing, kind of speaking about Disney a little bit, man. I don't know what's going on with them. Are you a Marvel guy at all? Are you?
Yeah. I enjoy the films. I'm more of the old comics when I was growing up reading it, because a lot of the movies we've got aren't the way they were written in the comic books. But I just take them and enjoy them from what they are.
Yeah, and man, that's like they got through that phase 1 and I think phase 2, and they got to this newer phase after Infinity War, and it's just like, I'm like, what is going on? I'm a big Marvel guy. I have the original Marvels T-shirt. Like it doesn't fit me anymore. I got it a couple years ago, but man, it's just like just Disney in general, man. And like some of the things that now they own Fox, and they've changed, tweaked a little bit of these shows, because FX and Fox were kind of, I'd say, edgy a little bit. They had the X-Files, they had they had all these kind of more rigid shows, I would say. And it's like now they kind of have to hit a quota, it seems like, man, on something, I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, Marvel, the movies they are what they are. I mean, they're good. I mean, I enjoy them. The Spider-Verse is what they're calling the Sony Spider-Verse.
The Sony version.
I'm not a fan of the Venom films.
No.
Nothing against the actors that are in it. I just hashtag not my Venom. Morbius, that one was okay.
That was terrible. Don't come on now. Come on.
I enjoyed it. I love Jared Leto. I think that was the main reason I was like, I'm all right with it. It wasn't the correct story, but none of the Sony stuff is. This new one, Madam Web.
Boy,
I liked everybody that was in it, but
so many bad things about that, man.
It just throw Spider-Man in all of these, and then I probably would have enjoyed them more. But I mean, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to build this Spider-Verse for them, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know what to do other than just throw Spider-Man in each of these films, and hopefully it'll save it. I mean, because what was it 5 Spider-Man films we got before the Tom Holland ones?
Yep.
The 3 Maguires and the 2 Andrew Garfield. The 2 he got, they weren't the greatest. Nothing against Garfield. I thought he was awesome as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It was just the hashtag not my lizard and not my Electro. So, But I mean, I'm happy that we're getting these because me growing up, the only superhero movies that we got in the theater were the Superman films with Christopher Reeve, rest in peace. That's my Superman. That's the Superman I grew up with. And then we got the Michael Keaton Batman. We only got one in the 80s, but then we got the Batman Returns and then Batman Forever and then Batman and Robin.
You know what's crazy about those about Michael Keaton as Batman? I was doing some perusing on TikTok and I had looked, and man, they showed like a 5-minute long compilation of people just poo pooing all over Keaton as Batman. I wasn't alive during that, or I wasn't cognitive of that, but like, man, they was hating on him bad.
He's not my Batman. My Batman's Adam West from the old TV series. That's the Batman I grew up with, and he'll always be my Batman.
He's Beetlejuice, man. That's Beetlejuice.
That's Mr. Mom. I mean, we did before whatever Batman movie came out. It was before The Flash, because Michael Keaton came back to reprise his role as Bruce Wayne in Batman.
That's right. Yeah, that's
so
right.
So we did the first Michael Keaton and Batman as well as Batman Returns. I can enjoy them for what they are. It was cool to see Batman on that big screen again. But I don't know. Tim Burton was just made a darker version of Batman that it was okay. I can enjoy them. Batman like Forever.
Nightmare Before Christmas, Batman.
Yeah, Batman Forever, Val Kilmer as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I liked it. I think out of those 4 first Batman films, I liked him the best. But he's hardly in it as Batman.
Yeah.
And then we got Clooney and Batman and Robin. And I mean, once Joel Schumacher took over, he just made it real colorful. And they are what they are. I mean, we get to see Batman, so I'm cool with it.
Let me ask you this: with the new, we had, so as we, we kind of move on through the Batman timeline, I guess you could say, of actors. You had Christian Bale, you had Affleck, and then now you have Pattinson. Out of those 3, who would you say? Everyone says Christian Bale, but Pattinson did all right with that new kind of gothic Batman.
I liked Nolan's Batman trilogy, The Dark Knight being my favorite one out of those 3 films. I thought Christian Bale did a good job as Bruce Wayne, a believable Bruce Wayne, and he was awesome when he was in the cape and cowl. So I thought that was awesome. Ben Affleck, what I loved about his Batman was it reminded me of Frank Miller's Dark Knight series, of his comic series. And I liked how he looked. I mean, I didn't have a problem with Ben Affleck. If we would have got to see Ben Affleck's vision of Batman, because he was supposed to direct one, but I guess they pulled that from him after the
Snyder?
The first Justice League, before the Snyder Cut came out. They said, nah, we're not going to put any money into it. So he said, all right, well, I'm not going to do it. But the Snyder Cut was awesome.
Man, the Snyder Cut, it was like 6 hours long, but man, it was good, man.
Yes. That one was amazing. I mean, I didn't really mind the first cut of Justice League, but after the Snyder Cut, that made more sense, because I wasn't really that big of a fan of the Superman movie, Man of Steel, and I wasn't a fan of Batman v Superman. I was kind of like, what's he trying to do here with this? But when we finally saw his version, the Snyder Cut, it made those 2 movies make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
To me, and I was like, oh, that's what he was trying to do. And I wish we would get to see more, because that ending of his Justice League blew my mind.
Because he basically added, so like they tried to reboot the Suicide Squad. Like the new Suicide Squad came in after that or before that, right? The new one was
the first
not the Will Smith one.
Yeah, no, that one. I think that one came out before. It came out before Snyder Cut, and then
he made that movie make sense too, with Leto being the Joker.
Yeah,
Like I was,
Suicide Squad.
man, it was bad, man. It was
It,
terrible.
yeah, it was. I mean,
It
I
was
love Jared.
terrible.
Like I said, Jared Leto. I loved him, so I thought he was awesome. Every time he was on the screen as Joker, because nobody really played Joker the same. Everyone that portrayed the characters throughout the TV series and the movies, none of them were the same. I mean, Cesar Romero will always be my Joker from the TV show. Jack Nicholson, he did what he could as
Mm-hmm.
Joker. And I'm not, I mean, a lot of people go with him being the number one. He's not my number one. Heath Ledger, awesome
Oh
performance.
man, goaded.
Won an Academy Award for it. I thought that was, to me, other than Cesar Romero, was one of the best portrayals because it was a really dark version
Mm-hmm.
of the Joker. Then when we got that pimp version of
Oh.
Jared Leto's Joker and Suicide Squad, I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, he's Jared
Well,
Leto. I can take him or leave it. But the
they
way,
made it make sense in like the storyline, like because like they Superman obviously like bad Superman wins in the dream or whatever, and Leto comes out as the Joker, and I'm like, what is going on right now? That was a crazy cut, but Leto, I think if he could have, they kind of made him like how he is in real life. You know, he had that cult thing going on during that time.
yeah,
If they would have let him be him, he might have did something.
I I liked how he looked at the end of Snyder Cut. Longer haired Joker, and uh I don't know, I just love his acting first of all, but
Yeah.
I wanted more because the way they left it off basically on the cliffhanger, because we're never, from what Zack Snyder was saying, he's not going back to
Mm-hmm.
it. So that's why they keep restarting all these comic book verses. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll see who's next. Well, we got Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh.
I like that first Joker movie. It wasn't a traditional Joker. I mean, we do see a young Bruce Wayne, so there's no Batman yet. I don't know what they're giving us with this next one. Everyone's talking about it being a musical.
Oh yeah, they said they had like 18 to 20. What do they call them? Like cover songs or something in it.
Yeah, I don't know
I don't know
what
what
the.
they doing.
I mean, I love Lady Gaga. I love Joaquin Phoenix, so I'm gonna just take it for what it is. I wish they would have just left it alone, because the way that first Joker movie ended, I was just, oh man, cool. Don't make another one to ruin it. And I have a feeling that this next one is gonna ruin it for me,
Yeah.
or it might not. I mean, who knows? We haven't seen it yet, but I just now. I mean, I bitch and complain about all these comic book movies and TV shows and everything, but I go back to, I'm happy that this generation gets them all.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, we only got four Superman movies, one Batman movie when I was growing up. That was it. And then we had the Hulk that was on TV. We had wasn't the greatest there wasn't the greatest Spider-Man TV series in the 70s. Christopher Hammond
Mm-hmm.
portraying Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And we also had the Captain America series, which didn't do much for the character. But I mean, that was it. That was what we got as far as live action. And it was spread out so far. But I enjoyed it as a kid. But now with these, man, we're getting just so much comic book movies. I mean, I see them all because we talk about them on our show. But I would just say, like, this generation now, man, you guys don't realize how lucky you have and how spoiled you guys are on
Yeah.
how much Star Wars you're getting, how much Marvel and DC content you're getting, be it live action, be it animated. We had what we had, but not like it is now. So I soak it all up. I enjoy it. I think as far as animated, DC is hitting it out of the park more than Marvel, because if you watch all those DC films, they're awesome. the animated stuff. And then when you see the Marvel ones, not all of them are the greatest, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
the old grumpy guy of our show, but I try to watch everything. I mean, I do watch Star Trek as well. I wasn't that big of a fan of Generation and all the other shows after that. I was more of an original crew and the original movies of Star Trek. I loved all those, but I do appreciate all the new type of sci-fi and of that we get, as well as um the other different comic book, be it graphic novels that they're turning into movies and everything. I enjoy all of that. I think one of the last ones that came out last year was that show, The Killer. It was on Netflix. It was a movie. It was based off a graphic novel, and it starred geez, he played Magneto in those
Oh, are
last.
you talking
Michael
about
Fassbender.
Yeah, Fassbender. Yeah, he played the assassin, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen that, check it out. It's on Netflix. That was a graphic novel, which I had no idea until I did more research on that film. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, and when it comes to all of that, be it sci-fi, action, anything. I mean, dealing with comic books and graphic novels. People call graphic novels comic books. They're graphic novels, and just get it right. But that's just me. I mean, everyone has their own definition of what's a comic book. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that they have what they have, especially for my grandkids and my kids. Because when my older kids, when they were younger, I mean, my oldest son Mark, he grew up loving Spider-Man because of me, and now my grandsons love Spider-Man and Batman because of me and everything. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they enjoy, all of my children, all four of my kids, and my two grandsons, is a lot of the stuff that I don't want to say I force it on them, but I have so much stuff in my little studio here, be it Star Wars, anything sci-fi, horror. I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan. I got hockey masks and Jason figures and everything. And that's my guy, Jason Voorhees. I loved all of that stuff growing up and everything. And yeah, I think watching horror movies and bringing it back to spiritual stuff, I think that's kind of helped me to not be afraid of what I'm seeing. But I do go back to what elders tell me. They're saying that there's spirits everywhere. But you just, if you see something and it frightens you, just to, hey, I'm sorry if I'm in your area, but I'm just either passing through, or this is my home and you kind of scare me. Can you please leave? So, I mean, that's what they always told me. Talk to them. Don't just freak out and run away. And they go, everything's not like in the horror movies. Because when it deals with natives in horror, Hollywood's version of native horror, we're always the bad guys. Everything that we do, our land is bad and everything. I'm just like, there was one movie that was terrible. I think it was called The Darkness with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Oh my God. Nothing against Kevin Bacon. I love him. But what they did in that movie was just like, it was head shaking. I remember sitting in the theater going, who came up with this idea? I mean, all the horror movies that were made by non-natives, it's just what they take an idea of, this is some kind of spirit that might be evil to them because they don't understand it. And we know that it's not evil, and they turn it into something evil and bad. And we have to have the white saviors to come in and rid the bad native spirits. I just laugh at all of this stuff.
It's brutal, man. Like, we were what is it? It's that Wendigo movie, Antlers. Man, that one. I'm glad they kind of got it. Like, I get a lot of people asking me about that entity, and I'm always like, people are like, oh, it's a monster, or it's a creature, and I'm like, it's kind of really more of a being. Basically, it's somebody that, I don't know if possessed is not a good word, but like they take on the characteristics of this being or this spirit. And I have people all the time like, oh man, antlers is the truest form of that Wendigo or that being, and I'm just like, yes, because the father did something bad. Now the entity. Have you seen that movie Antlers? Graham
Yes,
Green's in.
I
Graham
have it
Green's in
here
that one.
somewhere.
It's a good movie, but it is a little bit true. He did something bad. He gets taken over by this spirit, and he becomes, you know, this being. And but at the same time, man, they got to have the priest come in and say their prayers over this being. And another movie that comes to mind that I thought was very comical. Russell Sun Eagle and Chris Hill and Tyler Randall. We talked about this on Spirit Talkers. Then Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation was I can't think of the name of it now. That Bigfoot movie. I can't think of.
There's a bunch of them.
I know, man. I can't think of the name of that one now. But anyways, they had a. If you guys listen in the in chat, let me know what that was called, because I can't. Oh, is a Bigfoot Reborn. I can't remember the name of it. But they had this lady kind of. You could tell she's non-native, and she had this crazy crooked nose, and she was saying these prayers and saying, "Oh, this is the being that's going to take y'all out." And I can't remember the name of that movie. But Bigfoot ended up killing everybody. but no, man, that's one thing too. Have you seen Dark Winds?
Yes.
What do you think about Dark Winds?
I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't know. I don't know. It's Hollywood's version.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I want to know, like, where do you get this stories from? You're talking about the TV series, right?
Yeah, basically about your people, basically.
Yeah, because they did some movies. I want to say in the '90s. I want to think one was called Coyote Speaks, and I think the other one was called Skinwalkers. That was with Lou Diamond Phillips as Jim Chi. I mean, those movies were what they were.
Yeah.
But the TV show, shout out to my boy Eugene Brave Rock. He was in the first season. He was one of the bad guys. I liked what they were trying to do to bring in the spiritual type of stuff, but they didn't really focus on it. It was more of trying to find these killers of these people that blew up those mines or whatever they were, and then the death of that the lady in the motel. But they tried to bring in more of it. I thought it was going to be more of a spiritual hunter type of thing, but
that's what I thought too.
But it's not. But we are getting a third season, I hear, so I'm excited about that.
They had that bad medicine in that too. I was like, man, they getting kind of dicey on that with the police officer in the first season I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of dicey. I kind of felt uncomfortable watching that a little bit.
From what I understood, I could be wrong. I think they have advisors on what they can tackle and what they can't. So I'm like, okay, I'm with that. Yeah, because like when they were bringing up some things, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if you should be talking about that, but I don't know. I mean, that's why, I mean, when people talk about things and they ask stuff, there's things that we can't talk about. I mean, each tribe is different, but there's some stuff in the Navajo way we're not supposed to talk about. We're not supposed to talk about this at night, or don't talk about this during the day. I mean, so I just don't talk about it. So, but yeah, man, like I said, every tribe is different on how they dealing with spiritual stuff, being indigenous and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But what Hollywood does it makes me laugh all the time. Some of them kind of get it right, but then a lot of it is just we're the bad guys, and it takes a white guy to come in to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still enjoy. I get enjoyment out of all of them. I mean, there was one. Speaking of Bigfoot films, it's called Willow Creek.
Okay.
Is it Willow Creek? I think it's Willow Creek.
Is that it's like a found footage documentary, isn't it? Or like
Yeah, it is directed by Bobcat Goldthwait. If you guys remember him, he was a comedian back in the 80s, and he made a movie. When I go to see my buddy, the host of the East Society, he lives in Eureka, California. I drive through Willow Creek, and that's where they filmed it. Because there's a lot of Bigfoot statues there. The Hooper Reservation is right there. I've heard some stories from them, but I cannot remember the name. It was in their language on what they called it. And I've also heard them refer. Then hardly anyone ever refers to it as Bigfoot. They just say like the big people. I was told big people. So I was like, okay. So I always referred to them as big people. And I haven't seen anything, but my son seen something when he was outside playing. He wasn't really sure what he saw, but my son Kyle wasn't the one to come in and just make things up. He said they were outside playing, running around at night, and I always tell him, stop running around at night, man. Something's gonna grab you. We just say that to kids just so they can stay within eyesight when they're out running around. But I guess they were behind the house. Behind our house is kind of woodsy area. It's kind of open, but then it hits a tree line. I guess they were back there running around, and they're not really sure what they saw. But they just said it was big. And I just said, well, don't be afraid of them. I mean, they're protectors. So just say what's up and keep on moving. And they were kind of spooked out. And another thing they saw, if you're looking up the street, the tree line up there, they were in the house, or no, they were playing in the yard, and they saw something. First they saw light, and then it just they said it went straight up and then just disappeared. And we're like, well, what was it? They took me outside and pointed in the direction it was, and they were like, I don't know what it was. And I'm like, well, I don't want to say UFOs or aliens or anything, but that's just what they saw. I mean, it'd be different if it was like falling stars and stuff like that. Especially out here, the sky is so clear, you see all that. But they were unsure of what it was because they said it went straight up. I said, well, because there is a hospital like about a mile away from our house, and there's a helicopter that flies back and forth all over the place. I said, was it the helicopter? And they said, no, because you can hear the helicopter. He goes, this, you couldn't hear anything. It just went straight up and then just kind of disappeared. I said, I don't know. I was just kind of running through scenarios. Well, maybe somebody shot up a flare, or maybe it's a firework or something. And they said, no, it wasn't that. They've seen those before. So I'm like, well, then I don't know. I don't know what you guys saw, but it spooked them enough to come in the house, and I had to walk his little friend home. He's like, can you walk me home? I don't want to be out there by myself. So I had to walk him across the street. But
let me ask you this real quick, since we're talking about, those things that come to and from in the sky. What's your thoughts on aliens, man, or UFOs or UAPs? I guess what they call them now. What's your thoughts on those?
I was told sky people when I was growing up, and I don't want to say no, because I'm one of those believers of we can't be the only life on planets or moons or stars or whatever. I was always told by elders that the sky people are basically indigenous, and they have a connection with us. I always thought that when I was a kid, after what I was told, with the creation stories and everything. And the what I saw one time, I drive 90 miles to work from California into Nevada. Majority of the driving is in California before I hit the Nevada border. But there was one night I was going home. Like I said earlier, I see falling stars and everything all the time. Helicopters, airplanes, but when you see those, there's flashing lights on them. This one, it was kind of just going sideways. It was just going, and it was leaving a white light in the sky. That's when I thought it was like a shooting star, because I've seen shooting stars leave a white streak in the sky, but that usually goes super fast. This one was going slow, so I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe it's a plane, but then I'm saying a plane wouldn't leave that white. This is at night too. It'd be different if it was during the day, when you could see it's probably clouds or smoke or something behind the train or the plane, but it was a light, and the light stayed there for a long time, and then all of a sudden it just took off, and I was like, whoa, okay. I don't know. I mean, it could have been something, or it could have been falling star. I don't know. I've never seen them go sideways. I've always seen them come straight down or diagonal. So, but I don't know. I don't know what it was. My mother-in-law, she was driving home from Reno one night, and she saw something, and she said it was just like in the movies when the whatever aliens or whatever come around, the radios, all the electronics start to act weird. Like the radio was getting all staticky, the car was kind of sputtering, and this and that. And she saw something in the sky, but then once it was gone, like the car was normal again. I've never experienced anything like that, so I was kind of like, well, all right. So, but what my son saw, what I saw, I can't explain what I saw. Some people, one of my friends, it's probably just a shooting star or an airplane. I'm like, I don't know, but it's weird. I mean, I have friends that seen things. People that live around here have seen a lot of things. But as far as spirits, I've seen my share here and down in Arizona and New Mexico, as well as in growing up in the Bay Area and seeing stuff at work, at the airport where I work. I seen a man clearly one time in the back of an airplane. And during the winter, we have an agent that stays overnight, watches the airplanes, making sure the temperatures are above 50 or whatever, so the planes don't freeze. So we have to constantly check the temperature on each plane. We just put a thermometer up in the window we can see in the cockpit. We have heaters that are hooked up to them, and so we kind of do that. But before the start of the workday, we have to go inside the planes and put ice in the ice trays so people can have ice for their drinks. So it was probably 3:30, almost 4, somewhere in between there. I was in the back galley of an airplane, and I was just singing along, talking to myself, trying to stay awake, really, because I was just getting tired. But as I was putting ice in, on the corner of my eye, I seen a person walk by, like a couple feet away from me, because it's really small in the back galley. It was a white guy. He was bald, and he had a flannel shirt on. I really couldn't tell as far as if he had feet or anything, but he like just walked right by. I just shut those ice trays and got the hell out of there. There's some ladies that clean the airplanes. They were talking to me one night, asking me if I'd ever seen anything. And I told them, and then they started telling me stories of all the things that they've all seen. I'm like, what? And they said there's a man walking around. There is a little girl that walks around.
Man.
I didn't see the little girl. I've only seen the man. A friend of mine saw the little girl.
Man.
He didn't believe me until he saw her, and then he was kind of freaked out.
What's she look like? What do they look like? Are they just regular looking people? Or are they like old timey clothes? Or
The little girl was just a girl in a dress. They really couldn't make out any facial features. I couldn't make out features of the guy that I saw, but I knew he was bald because I saw his bald head, and he had like blue flannel on. From what I understood, we were talking to other people that worked at the airport forever. They said people have died on at the airport. A friend of mine passed away. He had a heart attack at work.
Dang.
And we all witnessed it.
Man.
Sorry. It was just one of those things. We were laughing around one moment, and then next thing you know, he was gone.
Wow.
But some ladies that work at the food court area, they were asking one of my coworkers they said, is there a tall guy with glasses that works with you guys? And we're like, yeah, it was my friend Albert. Our uniforms were blue at the time, blue t-shirt, blue pants. They said, yeah, we see a tall guy with glasses in all blue. And my buddy was like, okay. So he went and got a picture of Albert and brought it back to her. And he goes, is it this guy? And they said, yeah, that's him.
Whoa.
And he's like, well, where do you see him? They said, we just see him kind of lingering around, like maybe walking or sitting or somewhere. And they go, we see him, but then when we look again, he's gone. So they were all kind of, these were Mexican ladies, and they were saying that throughout their lifetimes, they've seen things as well. So that's how they kind of knew that he was a spirit. So I was kind of like, whoa, I've never seen Albert. But when they told us that, I was like, whoa, that's weird, but I'm happy that he still comes to work and he's still walking around.
Yeah, you gotta get that shift in, man.
Yeah, but yeah, those are some of the things that I've seen there. Oh man, sorry, I don't want to get emotional.
No, you're all good. Let me ask you this real quick. Kind of the same topic, I guess you could say. What do you think ghosts are, man? Oh, I'm losing. Let's see here. I'm gonna look at the chat here. Dale, I love my native peoples. Doing big things. 100%, 100. Dale, appreciate you, man. I spoke with you the other day, man. I appreciate you. Let's see here. Pattinson is my Batman. No shame. Dang, that's crazy. Come on now, Betsy. Let's see here. Pyromedic. Let's see here. Has smoke signals 2 been mentioned? I have to rewind later. No, we ain't talked about smoke signals yet. That's a classic, though.
Oh, one last thing for the airport.
Yeah.
Like I said, we put thermometers on the dashboard of the planes. We wear these orange vests, reflective vests, and I went in to stick the thermometer on the dashboard, and then the door behind me, the cockpit door, just slammed, and I just turned around and just kind of kicked that door open and ran outside real quick to see if it was just some joker that was trying to scare me and slam the door. I ran out. No one was around. No one was in the plane. Nobody was in the jetway. The door to the jetway, or to the door to the jetway that goes down to the tarmac. You would hear that close, much less slam or hear somebody run down those stairs. Didn't hear any of that.
Man.
One of my friends was like, well, maybe your vest caught the doorknob. I'm like, Like I said, it's real small in there. If that was the case, it would have just closed. It wouldn't have slammed. And plus, I would have felt it like pull on me, but did none of that. And those doors aren't on spring hinges; they're just loose, so they can just freely go back and forth. Um, but I don't know. Um, Something probably didn't want me in there and slammed the door on me.
Yeah.
But I got the hell out of there. I did not go back into that airplane. I didn't even put ice in that plane later on. I wasn't going back in it.
I don't blame you, man. Man, that's crazy.
So I was spooked out. That one scared me.
Let me ask you this. I know ghosts, that topic, people have a lot of opinions about what they could be. Are they, balls of energy that, are continuing the same cycle? Another theory is that they're in a different parallel universe. What do you kind of think ghosts are?
You know what? I don't think I can answer that. I mean, other than just like I said, being told spirits are everywhere. I wouldn't go as far as calling them ghosts. I've always just called them spirits because that's how it was explained to me. I mean, we all have some kind of spirit in us, and when our body is no more, I mean, our spirit goes on. So, and that's what they said. They told me they're everywhere, no matter where you're at. They're there. So, but some just choose to let the living know that they're there. And those are probably the ones that we see, or those are the ones that we hear. I was working at the Intertribal Friendship House in Oakland, California. It was myself, my mother-in-law was running the place at the time, and my wife were there. It was after one of our Wednesday night dinners that they had for the community, and we were there cleaning up and closing up. I was in the very, very back room, checking the doors and the windows, making sure they were locked. While I was back there, I heard a voice say, my wife's name is Renee. I heard a voice, a female voice, say Renee. So I didn't think anything of it. Figured it was my mother-in-law, or maybe somebody came in. I went back out into the main dining room, and my wife was standing in the kitchen, and I went in there. She goes, "Did you hear something?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "What did you hear?" I said, "I heard somebody say your name." She went, "Okay, that's what I heard too." She called her mom. Her mom was upstairs locking up and everything. So she called her upstairs in her office and said, "Did you call me?" And she's like, "No." And my wife asked me, goes, "Well, what did it sound like?" I said, "It sounded like a female voice, a younger voice." And she went, "Okay, that's what I heard too." So I went, "Okay." So I went back to do checking doors and windows and everything. And when I came back into the hall again, my wife was standing in the kitchen again, like just had this really scared look on her face. She went, "I saw it." And I was like, "What? What did you see?" She said it was a little girl standing on, when you walk out of the kitchen and you look straight ahead, there's this big, huge dining room window that goes out into the courtyard. But they were doing renovations, so there was nothing but big piles of dirt. And the piles of dirt were pretty much butted up against the building. She goes, "I saw a little girl standing there, and it was like with a winter coat on and the hood, looking in at the window, but smiling." She goes, "I just walked out, I saw it, and I turned around and went back in the kitchen."
Man.
So I went outside to see what it was, or because the areas, other than all the construction dirt and junk they had out there, the lot is locked, chained and locked. So, and there's barbed wire, so it's not like some little kid in the middle of the night jumped over that fence just to look through the window. But if there was a little girl standing out there, because my wife said, it was just from like the chest up. She saw her. That dirt was piled up to pretty much to the window seal. So if there was someone standing out there, they would have been. She said she would have saw the whole body of the little girl. And I was like, whoa. I said,
Man.
well, maybe that was the little girl that called your name. And she was just kind of like just freaked out. But I did tell her, I was like, yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. So of course it's a community center. Who knows? Maybe that little girl was here before. She was a part of the community, and she just came in and wanted to say hi. So that's the only thing that I've ever heard. I heard that. I didn't see her. So, but I think one of the main things that really made me believe in spirits is I was probably 10 or 11. We went on a camping trip. They took a lot of us little urban natives out to this. It was called Lake Comanche. We went out there, big camping trip, fun, swimming in the lake. We were doing nature hikes, and there was an elder with us, and he was telling us that this lake wasn't always here. Back way back in the day, it was a valley, and there was the local tribe. I can't remember what tribe he said that was there that lived at the bottom of the valley, and there was a huge flash flood rainstorm came and just whoosh, washed the whole village away. I guess it came down there, and I'm sure some got away, but it probably did take lives of some of the natives. So he was telling us, and that this is one of the guys, I cannot remember his name, but this is one of the guys that told me that there's spirits everywhere. He goes, there's spirits walking around this lake all the time, and they walk around at night. So if you see them, don't be scared. This is their home. So I was like, okay. Later that night, we're at a campfire, and he was sitting there telling us creation stories and everything. And he told us, we were all sitting around a campfire. There must have been about 30 kids, and maybe another 15 to 20 chaperones, older chaperones. My parents being included, my mom and dad. And the elder was telling us, remember when I said about spirits and everything, that they live here? We were kind of like, yeah. And he goes, well, I don't want to scare anyone. He goes, but there's here one now. And I remember going, wait, what? Everyone was kind of like, wait, what? Right by our campfire, there was kind of like a small little embankment, and there was trees there. And I say the tree trunk might have been maybe 2.5 feet wide, if that. He said, there's one here, and it wants to let you guys know that it's here and not to be scared. So he kind of pointed up towards the tree and said, he's going to show himself. So all of us, everybody that was at that campfire, looking up at that tree. And for a split second, all I realized it was a white shape. I couldn't see any facial features or anything. It peeked out from behind the tree for a second and then went back behind the tree.
Dang.
If it was just me that saw it, I would have probably been like, I don't know, maybe I'm tired, maybe it was something in my eyes.
Man.
Everybody that was at that campfire, campers, chaperones included, everyone saw it. So at that point is when I really started to believe that there is spirits of the old ones that are walking around everywhere. I mean, just spirits in general everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I mean, of course, I'd be 10 or 11, however old I was. It freaked me out because I'd never seen anything like that before. to where it was like, I'm gonna show you myself, so you won't be afraid. But of course, it scared a lot of us
Yeah.
that night. I mean, kids from the city. I mean, we've seen crazy things in the city, but
I mean, you were in Oakland, and during that, Oakland. It no, I could be wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong here. Oakland has used to be kind of a rough area back in the day.
it's not as bad back then when I was growing up. I mean, everywhere's bad, but
yeah.
it's really out of control now.
Okay,
but
so I got it backwards.
but no, I mean, but even then, I mean, even the neighborhoods that I grew up in, I mean, there's crime everywhere, no matter where you're at. You can be in the smallest one-horse town and there's crime. But yeah, I mean, it's not as bad. I mean, thinking about it now, I mean, what we thought was really bad was probably nothing compared to what's going on in the Bay Area now.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, yeah, I mean, like growing up, seeing things like that. I mean, just regular crime on the daily, and just drugs, alcohol, and just robberies and stuff like that. I mean, you see things when you're out there, but seeing that at the lake, and when the elder explained it to us, that's when I was like, all right, I get it. I understand now, and I believe. And since then, that's what I've always believed, that there's spirits everywhere. I mean, I have friends that are atheists that don't believe in this and don't believe in that, don't believe in any spirits or anything, or the afterlife or what have you. I tell them that story, and they're kind of like, nah, you might have just seen something else. He goes, or maybe someone was saying, well, maybe there was somebody behind the tree that just fooled you guys, and then they ran up the hill. If that was the case, the trees they were spread out pretty far apart, but we would have, if there was somebody actually behind that tree trying to scare us, we would have saw them run up that hill. And we didn't see any of that,
man.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's just some of the things I've seen when I go out to the res in Arizona. My uncle Robert, he told us a lot of things that he had seen out there, and I was kind of like, whoa, it's scary stuff, man, things I can't talk about. And he was also in Vietnam, and he said,
man,
other than the hell of war, he saw some other things that he can't explain in another country. So, but he never really told us of the actual war and what he did when he was in the army. He just didn't want us to know any of that. I didn't realize that he was a machine gunner on a helicopter.
Oh man!
Until he passed. When they were reading his eulogy, they said that's what he did. He always told us stuff about when he was over in Vietnam, but never what he did or what he saw. It was just mainly like, oh, me and my buddies were hanging out one night and we did this and we did that. That was about all he told us, like the fun times that he had there. Never, I mean, we were young, so he never really told us any of that, which I'm happy he didn't. But I was kind of shocked when I found out he was a machine gunner on those helicopters. But
I was listening to a podcast from it was Sean Ryan. I don't know if you know, he's a military guy, but he interviewed a guy who was the first ever remote viewer for the CIA, basically, and our government. And he was telling a crazy story. And I don't know and this kind of reminded me of things I've heard, in terms of, and then we're getting into some murky area here, but I'll tell that story for Vietnam. But the guy, he said one night he was laying down in his bed. He had kind of like a little up in the trees type of setup. And the only way that you can get up is through this gate, through this ladder that went up the tree, and then you open up like a hatch, and then you jump in. And one night he woke up and he thought he felt something, like he just woke up, just instinct, or being highly trained. He's kind of looked over and he saw this shadow, and it was of a man. And he looked over and he said, "What?" And this thing lunged at him. So he always had his gun, a little pistol, and he shot this whatever this thing was, this shadow guy or whatever. And he shot it a bunch of times, and it basically just jumped out the window. And this is like 10 feet off in the air. It basically just jumped through the window onto the ground and took off. And he watched it go into that jungle. As he got older, he never told anybody that story because it just shook him so bad. And one day he had come across these people that were trying to help the natives or the indigenous people there. I guess they were having some issues with water, and there was a lot of mining going on, and they were just trying to basically help them keep that at bay. And one of the guys woke up one night, and he looked over, and there was a shadow man.
Oh,
the same. And this is like 30 years later, and they looked over, and this shadow, whatever, was coming at him, pretty strong, or coming at him, and he was like, "Whoa!" And he had to like duck it, and he ended up shooting this thing, kind of in a struggle, Well, then a couple of days later, they found out that medicine man in that indigenous village had passed due to a wound where he shot, where that fight was going on. It's crazy to know, that similar things are going on over there, thousands of miles away, and you also hear stories here. I'm in central Oklahoma, from northeast Oklahoma. But when you said that, I was like, dang, that's kind of interesting, that the kind of the dynamic where, man, they came home and they didn't talk about these things, the things that they saw and the different things that they went through. It's fascinating, but it's also kind of sad too.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of figured that he didn't want us to know the hell that he went through, and maybe he didn't want us to look at him differently if he told us what he had seen or what he had done when he was there. But I mean, I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but he was my favorite uncle. He was just an amazing man, and when he passed, it was head on with a drunk driver.
Oh man,
drunk driver hit him. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, but I talked to him all the time, and every time I went out there, would make it to go to his house to sit around and my cousins, hang out with them and everything. But being out there one summer, we were out, my cousin Jay and his friends, and where they live in Fruitland, New Mexico, out in the res. They were telling me some scary things that they'd seen. And I was like, wait, what? And they took me to these, it started off, it was a cave that kind of went through, like you can walk through the whole thing. But I mean, you start off standing, next thing you know, you're crawling, you're kneeling, then you're crawling, then you're on your back crawling down all these little tunnels and everything, kind of like a little mini spelunking adventure.
Dang.
And they said they've done it so many times. We went through there with no flashlights.
Oh my goodness.
And that was probably one of the dumbest things I ever did in my life, because I was just thinking, if something happened, no one's gonna find us. So, they went back through. I said, no way. I went the long way. I wasn't gonna go through that again. I mean, too much horror movies going through my head, and living in California, in the Bay Area, with earthquakes and all that. I was like, nah, I'm good. I won't do that ever again. It's so funny. My uncle was telling me that there's some spooky things going on out there, especially in those caves. Because when we told him I told him, I said, yeah, they took me through these caves, and he goes, don't go in those caves anymore. And I was like, why? He goes, there's some things that might be going on in those caves, so don't go in there anymore. I went, okay. That was all he said. He didn't go into what. All right, I listened to him. And I never went back in there. I wasn't going to go through there anyway again, because I was just like, this is stupid. What are we doing?
Well, you know, like, that's one thing, man. That's all my times that I've endured the different kind of spooky, weird stuff, man. Is I ain't listened to the elders, man. Or my grandpa saying, or my dad or whoever being like, hey, man, I wouldn't do that, but just being knuckleheads, man. I think that's kind of how it is sometimes, though.
Yeah, I mean, now in my older age, I guess you can call me an elder, but I tell my kids, my boys and my daughters, like, look, don't go looking for it. Don't. My daughter and her friends, they were really into those ghost hunter shows and all that. And there's an abandoned hospital here on the other side of town. And she told us that they went in there.
Oh, my goodness.
They said they heard things, but they weren't sure. Maybe they were just scaring themselves. But I don't do things like that. I don't. Even when I was young and my friends wanted to do it, I think one of the dumbest things we did was go through the sewer system.
Oh my goodness, y'all crazy for that.
Yeah, we used to play around there. We're called casting ponds, where they threw trout in there, and you can go out there and just cast and everything. So there was pools all over the place, but then off to the side there was a little a water runoff that went into the sewer system. And you can go through, and then you can end up on the other side. It was under the freeway. You can go through one end, and then it kind of turns off to the left, and then you could see the other side, and you're on the other side of the freeway. We've done that, but it was shaped like a Y, so there was a third tunnel that went down. And the stupid kids we were got flashlights one day and go, I wonder where this goes. And we went and walked. I don't know how far we walked, but we ended up in this big, huge room, or where there was other little side things, and there was a ladder that went up to a manhole and everything. We climbed that. I was like, I'm not going back through that tunnel again. So we climbed up through the manhole. And, luckily, it was on a sidewalk. It wasn't in a street. And we crawled out. Where the hell are we?
Dang, y'all end up like 6 miles away.
We were still crazy in Oakland, but I was like, thinking like that, dumb things that we've done, like that. I'm like, I tell my kids, and I'm like, don't be stupid like me and do things like that. Like going through that tunnel, like I said, I'd never do that again. Going through the sewer system, on how dirty it is and everything, and never doing that again. Shout out to the workers that do it. Oh, it did. We were in there dry heaving and I had covering my nose with my t-shirt and everything. Dang. But it's
be having those when something smells so bad you start getting a tear falling down, man.
Yeah, it was it was pretty raw down there. But,
dang.
I'm a skateboarder at heart. I still ride my skateboard. There's this place they called it was another water runoff from this lake, and at the very bottom of it was a big cement thing, and it was like a wave. It kind of went up, and they called it the hook. That's what the skateboarders called it. You got to climb this fence, then climb a rope and go down into it and skate it. And we did that, sitting there having the best time. But then I sat there thinking about it, like, what if water came down that runoff? We would have drowned. There would have been no way. Yeah. There would have been no way. There's no way to get out of there. There's no ladders. There's no stairs or anything to run up to. Maybe whoever got to the rope first could have got out. But it was like, I mean, you don't think about this stuff when you're having fun. because we were skating. We were skaters. We wanted to skate everything we could skate and everything. It was an awesome time. There's videos of that place. But I just thought about what if water came down there? Or what if water came when we were going through that sewer? I mean, they would definitely never have found us.
No.
So,
Y'all would have been lost forever, man.
yeah, I mean, it's funny now to talk about these things, but back then, I mean, any of you younger listeners or watchers, don't do anything the other stuff that I'm saying. don't be adventurous like I was dumb. I was dumb, everyone. Don't do the dumb things I did. But so I tell my kids and everything. But
let me ask you this: since you're out in California, out in kind of that area, and I know, like I said, I'm not that familiar with the layout of California, but this has been a question that I've been kind of kicking around, and I haven't really had anybody answer it. And you being a music guy, Metallica coming out of California, you got all these hair bands coming out of California, and in metal and things like that. And then also you got, obviously it's the West Coast, but you got grunge in Seattle, and I think you had some grunge in Northern California. Let me ask you this, man: what's going on with rock music nowadays?
It's definitely music changes throughout time. Me growing up listening to music in the 70s, country music was in my house, my parents' cars, all the time. Real country, not this noise that's out there now. I don't like this pop country or whatever they're calling it.
Dang, you was in the back seat listening to 2 Dozen Roses, weren't you?
I grew up on Waylon and Dolly and Patsy Cline and all of them. I grew up on all that stuff. But when it came to more harder stuff, like rock and roll, Kiss was one that I was really into as a kid. Just more amazed on how they looked. But listening to the music, that it didn't sound like country. Was more a little at the time harder, and then coming across like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Ozzy and Black Sabbath and all of that. I loved all of that. And then listening to other classic stuff, Stones, of course, and Bruce Springsteen and all that. And then when hip hop started, really getting into the East Coast New York stuff. And then once it broke out in the Bay Area, Too Short being my all-time favorite MC out of the Bay Area, and of course MC Hammer. You can't talk about hip hop in Oakland without bringing up MC Hammer.
Yep.
A lot of people laugh at him. I don't. I've always supported him from day one, so I'm still a supporter of him. I met him one time. Awesome gentleman. Yeah, Hammer Time, Oakland for somebody Tiger. I can't.
Yes, that's my dad.
Okay, yeah, MC Hammer, awesome. Yeah. But as far as music today, like I said, everything changes. I mean, yeah, with grunge and all that was hitting hard. I mean, because we had, I grew up in the what we call Bay Area thrash era, with Violence, Forbidden, Death Angel, Testament, Exodus, Possessed, Blind Illusion, and bands like that, and Metallica, which basically started in LA before they came to the Bay Area. Early Metallica. I still love Metallica today. I saw them last year at SoFi Stadium when Pantera opened up for them, or the new Pantera. But music changes because thrash music was going hard in the late 80s and into the 90s, but then grunge came along, as well as the Motley Crues and the Poisons and Cinderellas, which I love. I still listen to that music today. Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Melvins, and all them came along, and music changed, and it kind of put the stuff I grew up with on the back burner. It was still there, it was still simmering in the back, but music was making a change, and those bands were hitting hard. Because then all those started to disappear, and then the more alternative stuff started to come out, and then this thing they called new metal with Korn and Deftones, and then the rap metal is what they call it, with the Limp Bizkits and the Rage Against the Machines and all that. I listened to all of those. I didn't like all of it, but I listened to a lot of it because my music taste is all over the board. You can go on my phone and go down my music, and you are gonna come across, of course, Anthrax being like my favorite band of all time. I'm just kind of going through. You're gonna get old 80s. Oh, I grew up in the 80s, so I love all the 80s stuff. The ahas, the air supplies and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up with that. Of course, I got Adele. I got Al Green. I got some Andy Gibb, the B-52s, Bangles, Beastie Boys. I even got Billie Eilish and Adele, which I love.
Dang.
I love them.
Eclectic.
I got Bobby McFerrin. I got Bobby Brown. I got Ice-T. I got Ice-T's Body Count. Of course, Dolly, Waylon, Kenny Rogers, and all of them. I have them and everything. And I got the Slayers, and I got the Slipknots and the Corns and all of that. So my music is all over the place. And of course, being a Star Wars fan, I love John Williams, his music that he did throughout the Star Wars films, and the Raiders, the Lost Ark stuff, and the Close Encounters, everything he has done for motion pictures and stuff like that. There's a lot of composers that I really love. But music today is different still. I mean, what I really love right now is my youngest son, Eric. He's really into the thrash music, and he listens to all the stuff that I grew up listening to. And he's turning me on to these new thrash bands, which I love, because if you listen to thrash music, these new bands have that old 80s thrash style. And I'm like, who are these guys? And how long they've been a band? Oh, they've only been a band for like a couple years. And I'm like, man, these bands are tough, and they sound like the old school stuff that I grew up with. And I love that. I love that these young guys are paying homage to the stuff that I grew up listening to. And not every band that I listened to back then is still going, but there's a lot of them that still are. Shout out to Forbidden. I mean, they just recently got back together, and it's the reborn version of Forbidden, and they're amazing. Got to be friends with them. I mean, my friends in Death Angel. I mean, those guys. I mean, to see where they were back in their heyday, and to now that they're still going after all these years. Some of these bands been 30, 40 years. Metallica too. Of course, Metallica has changed.
Yeah.
If you go back to Kill 'Em All and the Metal Massacre demos that they did, the No Life to Leather stuff, and then you listen to, what is it, 72 or whatever that new album is. I mean, a lot of people like, Metallica is sold out. Metallica is this. Metallica always has a hard spot in my area, in my heart. I mean, I have my Metallica shirt on right now. That's how hard it is. I mean, I got the late and great Cliff Burton, his action figure, the second bass player for Metallica. I have that right here.
You knew he was going to talk about Metallica. That's why you had it.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just messing.
But I mean, music today, it changes. Hip hop has changed a lot. I do not like a lot of this new hip hop that they call hip hop. I mean, to me, I can't remember who said it. There's a lot of rappers out there, but there's not enough MCs. And I agree with that. Some of these, they call it mumble rap. I don't know if that's what they really call it, but that stuff I can't. The what's that one little white kid's name? He's got the shit all over his face.
Lil
Xan or something.
Yeah, Lil Xan.
Yeah. I can't do it with him. I just like, what do you say? I don't even know what you're talking about. I can't even understand you. But there's a lot of rappers out there like that, and I don't get it. I mean, me growing up from the beginning of hip hop, listening to the lyricists and the lyric styles that each and everyone had. Like I said, growing up listening to the stuff in the East Coast, and then when everything came, when all the West Coast guys were going off, and like I said, Too Short being my favorite rapper of all time, MC of all time. And then when gangster rap and all that came out with Ice Cube and NWA and all that and everything, all that was good. but I mean, just music, it constantly changes. I mean, metal changes, rap changes, country changed, and I hate it. But,
Yeah.
I this whole Nickelback thing, I can appreciate that they're musicians. It's not a band that I would listen to, but I don't hate them like a lot of people do. They just, you bring up Nickelback, it's like the butt end of a joke.
Is Nickelback on the Mount Rushmore of most hated bands along with Creed?
I guess. I mean, Creed too. Did I've never seen them. I mean, I couldn't tell you any Creed songs, but if I heard it, I would know. Same thing with Nickelback. I mean, Stained. I know that Aaron Lewis guy's been saying some things that people don't like, but as far as the band, I like some of the songs. I don't like everything they put out. But I mean, same thing with Korn. I saw Korn before they were anything, before they blew up. I saw them in a small little club that only held like maybe 100 people. A lot of these bands that are big today, like Green Day, I just saw a tribute band called Not Green Day, and they were awesome. I saw Green Day at college parties. When you paid $5, you got to see the band. They gave you a cup for beer. I mean, I seen those are the everything that's huge today that you're paying $300-$400 to see. I paid $5 to go see them, sometimes free at parties. The Green Days, the AFIs, the Corns, man. Even seeing Metallica way back in the day when tickets were like $10. I mean, yeah, you can't pay that today.
No, man.
It's crazy on everything. But I mean, I'm happy. Music will always go on even after we're all long and gone. It'll change then. I mean, it changes throughout. I mean, as like I said, there's a lot of good music that people haven't heard. I mean, with the internet and all that, it's a good way to get your band heard out there. And I seem that's how they find a lot of unknown bands. I mean, just going through YouTube or listening to Spotify. I just found a band last week, a band from San Jose, California called La Sombra. And they're like a stoner band, doom band, or whatever they call themselves. But man, they rock. I was talking to these skateboarders, and one of them was the bass player in that band. And listening to them, like, wow, man, you guys are young and you got songs that people want to hear. I mean, everything changes. Music will always be music, but there's different styles and everything. I mean, I like stuff that sounds good to me. Mm-hmm. It may not sound good to someone else, but if it's catchy, I like it. If something, even like lyrics, I listen more to music before I actually study the lyrics. Because sometimes I'll love the music, but then when I listen to the lyrics, like, I don't like what you're saying. It sounds lame, but the music is tough.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, everything. I mean, me growing up the era that I did, I'm glad I did, because it's no internet, no cell phones, no nothing. I mean,
it's like you get to experience like the full. You know, right like now, everybody wants to watch the concert that's in front of you through your phone while you're recording it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those kids too. I mean, I'll film stuff. I'll film stuff. If you go on my the East Society's TikTok page, I mean, there's some stuff I filmed at concerts. I don't film whole concert sets. Yeah. I'll film parts of it, of the songs that I like and everything, and I'll throw them on Instagram or whatever. But I'm there to enjoy the music. I love to sing along. I got to wear earplugs now because my old ears aren't the same.
Too many concerts, man.
Yeah, I remember going to shows and having my ears ringing for days. And then once I started working at the airport, those loud airplanes, I always have to wear ear protection. And for all the loud stuff that I've been around, I'm a musician as well. I play the drums. That's probably like the loudest instrument, one of the loudest instruments you can play. And did I wear earplugs all the time? No. But yeah, I'm sure my ears have taken a beating. And I got that little ring in my ear from not wearing earplugs. But when I go to shows now, be it any style of music, I have earplugs in. I wear earplugs when I'm at work around those airplanes. and everything. So take care of your ears, everyone, and take care of your teeth as well.
Let me. I got a few kind of. I just want to get your thoughts on this. And I'm just kind of curious on really kind of where you if you lean anywhere on this, but so on my podcast I've talked about Kurt Cobain and kind of what went on with him, and there's a theory out there. I don't know if you've seen the documentary Soaked in Bleach. It came out I think 2018, but do you think maybe Courtney Love has something to do with him? What do you think about that?
I didn't really think so until I watched that one documentary in the 90s called Kurt and Courtney. The guy that did that one when they were talking to the Mentors singer El Duce, saying that she was going to give him some crazy amount of money to murder Kurt. I don't know if that was true or not, because if you guys know El Duce and the Mentors, that guy was crazy. I've seen him live a few times, and yeah, man, he was a character. But I don't think he would lie about that. I don't know the man, but he didn't seem like to be one of those guys that wanted to be in the spotlight or anything. I think just by reputation of his outrageousness on stage and being who he was is how everyone found out about him. But him dying after that documentary, basically they said, oh, well, he was drunk and he fell on train tracks or whatever and got run over or hit by a train or whatever. I don't know, man. That to me, I could be wrong. Maybe he was, and maybe he did stumble out there. But they were saying that since that documentary came out, that he was murdered because of what he said in that documentary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, and that's with his death, with Cobain's death, I'm on the side. I think Courtney had something to do with it. If you haven't seen that documentary, it's called Soaked in Bleach. Last time I seen it was on Tubi, and then I think it was on Amazon Prime. But going along with him, do you think the 27 Club has something to, has some legs to it?
27 Club?
You ever heard of that? All the musicians who had passed or been,
Oh,
you ever heard anything? You heard about that? The 27
I have,
Club?
but
you think there's legs to it?
I don't know. I don't know about that one. That one seems
because it's Hendrix, Morrison, Joplin, Cobain, Robert Johnson, a French composer back in the 1900s. There's about 50 people on that list. I think Mac Miller might be on that list now. I think.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I mean,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, with fame comes, and if you do pass, it always comes with conspiracy theories or something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody thinks of this, somebody thinks of that. Oh, listen to this song. This is what they were saying, but I don't know. I mean, it's really hard. I try not to fall into that type of stuff. I'm one of those guys, like if I didn't see it or there isn't video proof of it, then I try not to.
Not subscribe to it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, when they were after Kurt Cobain, I was in a band at the time in a hip hop group called Without Reservation, and we were out on tour in Arizona when that happened. I remember we were at a friend's house and he was watching MTV and they kept showing Nirvana videos. I was like, what's going on? He's, oh man, they found him dead. I went, who? They went Kurt Cobain. I was like, what? And I just couldn't believe it. And then they were saying it was suicide. And I was like, oh my God. I think out of as far as famous people and music, he was one of the first where I just felt bad. Like I didn't know the man. I was lucky enough to see Nirvana live once. But I don't know what it was. I just felt like I was just like depressed all day.
Now,
But
what about MJ? Was you sad about MJ?
of course.
Man.
And Prince.
Oh, Prince too. Yeah, man.
Oh
Dang.
man, I was crushed, man. I mean,
Man.
I remember when Cliff Burton passed.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my man. I mean, yeah, but I don't know what it was. Kurt Cobain was the one that kind of hit me a little hard. I mean, I didn't cry or anything, but I was just like, wow. It was more why, and it's a question, a dumb question in my opinion, because we'll never get that answer.
Yeah.
But then when all this conspiracy theories started, then the documentaries came out. I'm gonna watch that Soaked in Bleach tonight. Yeah, it's still on Amazon. The one that kind of made me go, I don't know, is I guess I don't know. It could be wrong. I don't know what kind of gun he used. They were saying that
It was a shotgun.
the way it was, there was like no way he could have shot himself at that angle.
Well, I won't ruin the documentary for you, but let's just say that the private investigator that she hired after his death, before his death, still has the tapes of their conversations, and it's aired. He airs it all out.
Kurt Cobain does?
No, Courtney Love's private investigator that she hired to find Kurt. Remember, because he escaped from rehab like 3 years before his death. She hired a private investigator the day that the day that he escaped allegedly she hired him that day, and so he has the tapes of their recordings all the way up until they found him.
Ooh,
man, it's brutal. I'm telling you, man, it's one of the best, I would say, documentaries on her. And, one of the topics that I wanted to talk to you about, because this might be interesting as well, people always call her an industry plant because she was around. She kept getting planted in these situations with these guys. Billy Morgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. And then
one guy from REM.
The guy from REM.
Yeah.
Another thing about his death that I always found interesting was that her bassist, I believe, was either killed or had died of an OD like a month later.
I saw something on her, and it sounded like she was murdered.
It sounded crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because first I heard it was a heroin overdose.
Yep.
But then I was watching something else, and it made it seem like, because she was close with Kurt.
Yeah.
And it made it sound like she was murdered. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
It was that, but that to me that seemed more believable than a drug overdose, because from what they were saying that she was getting her life back on track.
Yeah, she wasn't even. I think she was clean during that time, is what they were saying.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It's interesting, man. I just thought I'd bring it up to you.
I mean, because Courtney Love, I was a fan of her band Hole. I saw her perform live twice, and I love that album. What was it Live Through This or whatever that album was called?
You think Kurt wrote them songs?
Of course he did. Because if you guys have heard the stuff after that, that's my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe
no. I think a lot of people share that opinion, man. Because that second album after he passed, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, Celebrity or whatever it was, I tuned out because I'm happy I saw her when she was touring for that album, and I enjoyed it. I thought she did a good time. Is she the greatest singer? No, but it fit her style of music. So I still listen to that album today. I'm not really that big of a fan of her because of all the trying to still be in the spotlight. The only one I really feel sorry for is their daughter,
Frances Bean.
I feel sorry for her. She's growing up knowing her father by what's in the tabloids, what's on YouTube what his music, which she I'm sure she loves, but I don't even know if she listens to it. I don't know. Maybe that's the only way she can hear her father's voice is watching old interviews or whatever. I don't know. I just feel sorry for her all the time. But who knows? Maybe she's living the best life she can, which I hope she is.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson as well. I mean, I felt sorry for his kids, Paris and Prince Michael and what's a blanket.
Yeah.
I feel for the three of them. Prince, I don't believe he didn't have any kids, but I shed tears when Michael passed, and I was watching a documentary about Michael. He could probably still be with us if that doctor would have done the right thing.
Yeah.
Am I saying that he murdered him? I don't know. But I think Michael could have still been with us if that doctor would have done the right thing. Prince, I didn't know he was sick and what he was going through. That was a shocker. That came out of nowhere. So, but yeah, man, it's rough, man. I shed tears for Prince. I shed tears for Michael, and I felt really depressed when I found out the passing of Kurt Cobain. And it hit me. Oh, the other one that really, really hit me hard when I was driving to work when I found out that Eddie Van Halen passed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'd seen so many things, and they're saying how rude he was and how much of an asshole he was. I did not know the man, never met him. I saw him perform live with Van Halen, and he's my all-time favorite guitar player, and I'm going to leave it at that. I guess some people say it's don't meet your heroes, and I've never met him, but a friend of mine have, and she said he was really nice. But I got his music, all of them, everyone. I got Kurt's, Prince, Michael, Eddie's, all their music to listen to. That I have all their music on my phone that I can listen to whenever I feel like listening to them. So it's tough. And go back to your original question about music changing. Music's gonna change. Some for the good, some for the bad, and some for the what the hell is this? So, but that's just how music goes. I mean, it's going to change each year. It's going to change each century and everything. Because who knows what it's going to be 30 years, 40 years from now. But we still have all that classic stuff that I grew up with. Kiss is no more, from what I understood. They took a 20-year farewell tour and it finally ended. And I got to see them, and I got to bring my son to see Kiss twice. So, but yeah, man, there's so much conspiracy theory stuff, even going to Led Zeppelin saying that they had to deal with the devil. That's how they became famous. I don't know. Led Zeppelin's got a lot of good music, so I don't.
A lot of hits, man.
Yeah, I don't know. But you can say that about a lot of people, but I don't know. I mean, there's bands that hit, or just performers that hit, that I'm like, good, but Britney, for some reason, Britney Spears, she was doing her thing. I don't know if she wrote the music, but I don't know about what she's doing now. I know she had that whole court case dealing with with her dad.
Yeah, the conservatorship.
Yeah, but I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, the crazy videos that she keeps putting up. I don't know.
Someone said that was AI.
If it is, there's too many of it.
Man, this is crazy. It is crazy.
I don't know. I mean, it's nuts on what's going on. And the thing that's different, the only thing different that's changed about music today and back in the day is, or just life in general, is cell phones. Everybody's filming this, everybody's filming that. There's so much stuff going on. I was listening to an interview with Joey Fatone from NSYNC. He was like, when they were back there doing their thing, touring the world and shows everywhere, he goes, there was no cell phones. And he goes, and I'm glad there was no cell phones, because he goes,
they was wilding out.
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, there's some things that I'm glad nobody knows about. I'm like, wow. And that could be anybody. Even old rockers. I was listening to Ozzy's podcast, and he was saying that all the crazy stuff they did. And he's like, yeah, I'm glad nobody filmed it. So, but I don't know. I mean, even I mean, we weren't out doing dumb things when we were on the road, but we have seen dumb things while we were on the road.
Mhm.
But I wasn't a part of it. So, but it's crazy, man. Yeah, music changes throughout time. I mean, just go way back into the beginning of when the first thing that was actually recorded and put it out. Compare, I mean, I'll think as far as music back in the day, it was based on talent. I mean, it was like what they went in there saying and what they played is what we heard. Now today, you can run your instrument through all kinds of this and that and computer programs to make it sound good. So, I mean, it's not like a band. All right, hit it and then play, record it, then put the song out.
Mhm.
It's like each band member has their own track. There's drum track, guitar tracks, bass tracks, keyboards, horns, whatever. And then you put it all together. And of course they perform it live and it's still amazing. But back in those days, they didn't have that technology. They just, all right, hit it. And the whole band would play, they would record it, sing it, put it out for the world. And that's, I mean, talent, music it's talent, but there is some music out there today that's who you know.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you go back to like the industry plants. People gonna hate if I say this, but Taylor Swift is an industry plant. Let's keep it 100.
I don't know her music. I'm just like, man, girlfriend, save your money because it can all be in tomorrow. just
I
just save your
mean,
money. Any musician, if you're out
yeah,
there and you're hitting right now, I go back to a movie called That Thing You Do. There was a guy in it that was talking to the drummer for the band The Wonders.
man. Hey, that's a great movie too.
He
That's
told him, just keep playing no matter what kind of music or who you're playing with, and always watch your money. So I mean, I told my son that today. Like, look, man, just keep playing no matter what, and just watch your money. Make sure, and especially in the music industry, any kind of big business. There's a lot of snakes and worms out there, so just be careful. I mean, we came across some crazy shisty things when we were out there doing music, and do I miss it? I do sometimes, but I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I got to meet all the people when we were out on the road. I mean, were we the greatest? I never thought we were, but people loved it and they liked what we were saying. So it's good. People still, hey man, I remember you. You were Without Rez, and I'm like, yeah, right on, man. Cool, thank you. Are you guys ever doing anything ever again? I'm like, no, we're retired. We're all old grandpas now, so I don't think I have the energy to get up there and do that anymore. But most of my energy goes into my grandsons and working. So
yeah.
that's how I'm living. But
Let me ask you one more thing. We'll get out of here, man. We're hitting about 2 hours.
I didn't even realize it.
Hey, man, this has been a really really fun conversation. Especially talking about movies, talking about music, and the stories that you've told. But yeah, there was a question that was asked earlier. What are some movies that you would recommend to the audience and to the listeners that you're like, hey, check this out?
Oh man.
I know you probably got a mile long list, but just a few that you could think off the top of your head.
It depends on what you want to watch. Some of the If you listen to the E Society, there's movies I talk about on there that I don't think your regular or average movie watcher would watch. I I I watch everything. I can cry and be happy watching Bridges of Madison County or Barbie, which I thought was an awesome film. Um every now and then I'll go down this list of finding the most disturbing movies out there. that are within reason. I'm not looking for snuff films and stuff like that. I don't get down with that crazy stuff. I can watch all the blood and guts and violence in movies because I know it's fake, but when it's real stuff, like watching the news is a horror movie because a lot of bad things go on and it's real. Watching everything that happened during 9/11 was horrific, but it would just really like if someone asked me that question, I would have to ask them, well, what do you watch and what do you like to watch? Because if I start off with something that probably everyone has seen, my favorite movie of all time is the original Star Wars film, 1977. The original film, when it was just called Star Wars. There was no episode 4. There was no New Hope. When it came across the screen, Star Wars. And then the crawl started. Now when you watch it, it says episode 4, A New Hope. None of that was there when it first came out. They added that later on. The regular version, not the special edition. Did I like the special edition? Of course I did. Star Wars. But that being my number one film, if I go to a comic book movie, I'm going to go with the original or Superman 2 with Christopher Reeve. That's my all-time favorite comic book film. It's cheesy, of course it is, but hey, that's what we had in the 80s. So that was my hashtag. That's my Superman. I already covered sci-fi. I already covered.
Let's do what about comedy?
Comedy. I know Blazing Saddles is a sore subject to a lot of people because of how rough and raw and racist that film is, but that movie's hilarious. I went and seen it at one of those when they bring back old movies, and I kid you not, it felt like that crowd didn't want to laugh. Like they wanted to laugh, but they didn't want to laugh at the racist things. I mean, in that film, Mel Brooks hit everybody, be it black, white, Chinese, even natives. Even we got it. I mean, they hit everybody in that film. Caddyshack's another awesome film. Blues Brothers being my all-time favorite musical. It is a musical. Grease, of course. Sound of Music is an amazing film. It's a Wonderful Life.
Hey, let me ask you this: Does Little Big Man get enough credit?
It does not, in my opinion. No. I mean, when you bring up native cinema, everyone for some reason. I mean, I love the film as well. Dances with Wolves. Everyone goes to that. It was good to see. I'm a huge Graham Greene fan. My favorite Graham Greene film is Clear Cut. If you guys haven't seen that movie's awesome. Definitely check that out. You can get it on Blu-ray now, finally, and I believe it's streaming on somewhere. But that's an amazing film. As far as native cinema, going for the back in the day, Little Big Man, I like that film. Windwalker, I know the guy was white, he wasn't native, but I did like that film. What was the other one? There was another one during that era.
You missing Smoke Signals?
No, this is earlier.
Oh,
earlier before that. Winterhawk, that was another one I remember seeing at the drive-in. I did like that one. Of course, Smoke Signals. That was an amazing film. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Drawing a blank.
I even like
on that one, man.
I even liked the Geronimo film. Not Geronimo. What was that one with Adam Beach? It was a Disney movie everyone hated. Squanto.
Squanto. Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm a huge Adam Beach fan.
Man,
I mean, he's an amazing guy. I've hung out with him and everything.
Squanto. I forgot about that.
That movie Geronimo I thought was cool. I mainly, other than Wes Studi was amazing in it. I love Walter Hill. I just love that director and his films. So I thought that was a good film.
What'd you think about the Christian Bale movie that came out? What was it? Hostels? What'd you think of that movie?
It just made me mad.
Man, That's brutal.
I came out of that film charged. I mean, a lot of these films like come out charged and mad. But I think out of native cinema, Clear Cut with Graham Greene, it was a Canadian film. I went and saw that at a film festival. I didn't even know what it was about. I just knew Graham Greene was in it. People got up and walked out. Non-natives, white people got up and left after that scene when they were in the motel, when he had them all tied up, talking about you guys are the superior race and all this and everything. Some people got up and just left. They were saying, this isn't a movie for me. I mean, that movie spoke a lot of truth, so maybe the truth hurt him. But I think out of everything, I really, really love that film. I mean, it finally gets talked about now, but back when it came out, not a lot of people saw it. I saw it in a film festival, and then every now and then they did random screenings here and there, and then when it hit VHS, I was really like pushing this film. You guys got to see this movie. You got to see this movie. And then now it's out for Blu-ray, and everyone that loves it finally can see it, and it's nice, big, huge, racial, crystal clear aspect and everything. It's not the clearest transfer, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But as far as other things being indigenous, I mean, Dark Winds is a good show. Of course, Res Dogs, everybody loves that.
Everybody loves
that was an amazing series. Jenna's show before Res Dogs, Rutherford Falls. I thought that was an awesome show. It was hilarious.
Yeah. I think I watched the first couple episodes and I ended up canceling. Was it on Peacock?
Yeah. I got Peacock just because WWE went there. So
man, hey,
then I found Rutherford Falls. The other show.
I got a WWE question for you after this, but I'm a huge horror fan too, and like I said, I know you are too as well. What is a mainstream type, something that you can find on streaming, that horror movie that you're like, yeah, that's the one. For me, this is one that's not very well talked about, but it has John C. Reilly in it, and it's there's something wrong with Kevin. No. Man, that movie is on one.
That is a movie that I do not hear a lot about. I loved, was it Tilda Swinton?
Yeah,
I love her. I love her. So that was the main reason I went and saw that film. But it was one of those films at the time. It wasn't like a mainstream film. It wasn't everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the Bay Area, but it was like in one theater. So I found out where it was playing, and I went and seen it. It's a slow burn, definitely, but it tackled other than
pretty deep stuff.
The depression, school violence, and just a mental issue of what was going on. And it's a really dark and deep movie. If you guys haven't seen it, I mean, I left the theater. I mean, I saw it with one of my younger sons, and I said, "Well, what did you think of it?" And he was like, "That was crazy." And I straight up asked him, "I mean, do you have thoughts like that little boy?" And he's like, "No."
You had to ask, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's still, to me. You have to talk to your kids, that way. I mean, I know it's tough subjects to talk about. But I mean, I talk about stuff like that. And after my son passed, he had an accident, but I asked my kids, how are you? It's a dumb question. Like, how are you? I mean, for us, and I hated when people ask me that, how are you? How are you? I just go, I'm all right. I'm okay. I'm good. Deep inside, I'm not good. I'm not okay. But will I ever be okay? No. A part of me is gone. He's still here in spirit. He's here with us right now. And I know that, and I love it. I talk to him all the time. But physically, he's not here. But I do ask. I ask my kids. It's like, it's always like, how are you guys doing? Like I said, it's a dumb question. I hate it. Do you think of your brother? And they're like, all the time. My daughter, her sons, She goes, I look at them and they remind me of her brother. I said, that's the gift that your brother gave you.
Mm.
I mean, my oldest grandson looks like my son Kyle, and my youngest grandson acts like Kyle.
Mhm.
So it's cool. I mean, it's a gift that he gave us. I mean, some people may not believe that. I believe it,
Mhm.
and it's tough though, man. But it's helped us all. And like I said, anyone that if you've lost any loved one, be it a parent, brother, sister, child, or just even your best friend, I mean, it's you're going to be different forever.
Mm.
It's not in a bad way. I mean, it is life. I mean, all of us have to go eventually, but let's try to live as good as we can, the best we can. There's a lot of evil out there. There's a lot of evil people out there doing bad things. And that was one of the other things that pissed me off. Like, why do all these evil people live on while the good people just had a short life?
Mhm.
That's questions you will never get answers for. So I try to live my life the best I can. I'm not out there doing the stupid shit I was talking about earlier. Plus, I'm too old and, and fat and all that. But yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, it's rough. But to bring it back to the movie thing, horror film. Like I said, Jason Voorhees is my guy. My horror franchise is Friday the 13th. Even though how wacky and stupid the movies got. But I still love it. I'm happy that we got a second video game. I'm happy that we're getting a TV series. I don't know if it's gonna be any good. It's a second TV series because that first TV series of Friday the 13th had nothing to do with the franchise. It was just by name. But
What about Freddy versus Jason though?
I enjoyed it.
It was different.
Yeah, I'm only a fan of the first three Nightmare on Elm Street films. After Dream Warriors, to me, in my opinion, that franchise went downhill because I didn't really care for the movies. Out of all the movies that I own, I only own the first three Nightmare on Elm Street films and the remake, which I enjoyed. Friday the 13th, I own everything Friday the 13th, even all the fan films and everything. Oh, there's a movie. If you guys are Friday the 13th fans and you haven't seen Never Hike Alone, there is you can go watch those on YouTube. There's 3 of them. There's 2 movies, Never Hike Alone and Never Hike Alone 2, but then there's like a kind of like a prequel story that's only like a half hour. I think it's still part of the Never Hike Alone series. It's all on YouTube. Definitely check those out if you're Friday the 13th fans and you haven't seen them yet. But I think the last movie that really kind of freaked me out, but it was a thinker, was Hereditary. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
That one, I just went to see it because I try to see every horror movie that comes out, be it good or bad. I mean, even if it's bad, I'll sit through it and then just leave the theater like I'll never watch that again. Be The Darkness. I never watched that again.
Did you watch Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney yet? You seen that?
That one just came out.
Came out.
No, but I did just see that new one also came out. Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, I want to see that, man. What is it? What's going on with that one?
It's good. I enjoyed it. It's kind of basically a found footage film. Well, not really. Well, no, they're putting it in the found footage category, but it's a it was a talk show. It was made up talk show dealing back in the days in the 70s. I think it was year 77. It was a guy kind of like late night talk show trying to going up against Johnny Carson, trying to be the next Johnny Carson. So what he does is on Halloween night in 1977, he gets these guests to come on. One of them's a medium, the other one's like a clairvoyant guy, and all hell breaks loose because they kind of conjure up the devil with there's a girl. She was a survivor of a like a Satan cult or something. She was a survivor of that, so that's how they this is all in the trailer, everyone. So they kind of conjure up the a demon. I don't think it was the devil, but they just called it that.
Man.
And then all hell breaks loose. So, but it's pretty good. I love the set it is. It's like they aired that show once and then never aired it again. But I guess these people found that footage somewhere. They cleaned it up and then they're presenting it to the audience, and that's what we saw and everything that happened that night of the show.
Oh man, yeah, you got me. Yeah, I got to see it now. It's on AMC Plus, I believe, or Shudder.
It's
right?
not on there yet.
It's on. Okay.
It's still in the theater. That I think it's going to hit Shudder. I think they said in a couple months. Okay. But I that's one I think you should go to the theater and see it.
Okay.
Because I mean, mainly for the sound. Because when that girl is talking all demonish, it sounds good in however your sound system is in your theater. Yeah. That's one I say in theater wise. I say I highly recommend Late Night with the Devil. That one was really good. Yeah, I want to see that one you brought up, and then there's that other one, Imaginary. I want to see that. I think that was PG-13, so I don't know. No, Late Night with the Devil is rated R, so and you see why it's rated R. So, but that one was pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of horror.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of horror movies that are out now is a lot of stuff that we've seen already. Mm-hmm. And they're just doing it, and especially when they were going wild with all the remakes of the Japanese and the Korean horror stuff.
Yep,
remaking all those. I enjoy the original material and some of the remakes, not all of them. But everybody's trying to remake all this stuff that I grew up with. Some of it's good, some of it isn't. But I just go to watch them. Shudder and Screambox are also a good place. There's a lot of good old horror on there, as well as the original horror that they put on there, indie stuff. And I think a lot of the indie stuff hits it out of the park more than mainstream, because mainstream they can only show you so much. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen the Terrifier films, and I don't know if you're one for blood and guts, but those movies are pretty bloody.
Man, I need to see it. It's been on my watch list for forever, and there's 3 of them, right?
There's a third one coming out.
Okay.
The first one's pretty gruesome, but the second one, they went for it. I saw that in the theater, and people got up and left.
Dang.
The first 10 minutes of the film, this couple, it was mainly the female, she was like, I can't take this. She got up and drug her boyfriend out with her. There was a grandma and her granddaughter in there. They made it through a little over the halfway point, and the grandma went, I can't take it. We need to leave. And they got up and left.
Golly.
There's a lot of gruesome movies out there, be it mainstream or indie. But I think if I'm going to leave this, I'll leave you guys with a real gruesome one. There was a series called Human Centipede.
Oh my God.
The first one was all right. It was cool. It was an introduction to what the Human Centipede is. The third one, garbage. Stay away from that one. The second one, they really went for it with the gruesome. Watch the uncut version. If you like blood and guts and all that, watch that one, because it really got out of control. But what I loved about it the most is it was filmed in black and white.
Oh man,
and I liked what they did. Every now and then they threw a splash of color in, but I know a lot of people don't like those films or that type of film. That was a crazy one that I really enjoyed. Like I said, I can watch craziness because I know it's fake. There's another movie. It was a foreign film. People talk about it, and some people see it. Some people don't want to see it because they hear the subject matter. There's a film called a Serbian film. That's probably one of the most disturbing, in my opinion, one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. And I've seen those August Underground films. I've seen the Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. I've seen that movie Solo, which I'll never watch again. And some of the other ones, Guinea Pig, and if you just typed in disturbing movies, they're going to give you a list of films. I did that adventure and just went down the list and watched them all. Some of them I was kind of like, really? This is what you guys are grossed out about? Which was nothing to me. But there was a couple in there where I was like, ooh, what am I watching? But
well, hey,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Kevin, Man, I appreciate you coming on, man. We've been at almost 2 hours and 30 minutes, and here in Oklahoma, it's almost 10 o'clock, man.
Yeah.
But can you let everybody know where they can find you? Every social media, if you get, everything like that, let them know how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, I am everywhere. If you just go to Facebook, search East Society or the Mac Nez Podcast, or it's all on there. There's links to the shows that we put out and links to our network. The two networks that we have, go to podbean.com and just search Mac Nez or Skater Nez Podcast, and you'll find everything on there. If you just want to listen to just Mac Nez Podcast, you got to scroll through a lot of East Society before you hit my episodes. The last Mac Nez Podcast I just put out was earlier this month, was episode 146. Yeah, you just have to scroll through. So I got 146 episodes out there for you for the Mac Nez Podcast. But East Society, like I said, we're on Podbean Network. We're at 305. But then there's a lot of spin-off shows in there. Also, we have another feed. If you go to Spotify and search East Society, or just go to our Instagram pages or our Facebook page, there's the links. There's always links to our shows. On Spotify, it's just East Society Podcast, and it's all the stuff we have there. Over 300 episodes, and it's just something that we just decided to do. I mean, you're not going to hear the same episodes on both networks. It's all different stuff. So there's plenty for everyone to hear. And like I said, you can follow us on Instagram, Mac Nez Podcast or East Society Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok. Just search East Society Pod, and you'll find that on there. And wherever, whatever you listen to podcasts on, search Mac Nez Podcast or East Society, and it'll pop up. And we're all over the place. We have a YouTube channel. Just search East Society Podcast. We really need to use that more. But there's some stuff on there, but not a lot. It's not just me, because if you follow us on TikTok, you're mainly just seeing me on there. But I try to get my other buddy to do some things, and it's kind of hard for him to do stuff. He's a busy man. We're all busy, but we were doing a weekly show, but now it's kind of hard with our job schedules. So, but we have, if you're new and you want to listen to it, we have a ton of stuff on there, so you got plenty to listen to before we drop anything new. So, but hey, man, this was awesome. I got to get you on my show at some point.
Hey, let me know. That's
we can run through all this again. And
I'd love to. Movies, man. I'm a movie guy too, and I know there's so many different types of topics and different types of movies. But yeah, let me know, man. I'll hop on and see what I can do. Yeah.
Oh, are you going to Indigipop X or whatever they call it now?
Tahlequah?
Yeah, Oklahoma City, I think. Next month.
I'm not sure, but it depends on the day. I think it's on a Saturday, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay. Are you gonna be heading out here?
Yeah, I'm gonna fly to Tulsa and hang out with Russ. I need to reach out to him, see if he's going, because he went last year. I was gonna go, but I couldn't make it out there. Because usually when I go out there, I end up crashing at his place and record shows with him. Shout out to Russell Sun Eagle, awesome guy. Okie Podcast.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He helped me get on to Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation, and I'm out here in Oklahoma City now, so it was difficult trying to record, and I know him and Chris are doing a good job over there at Spirit Talkers.
Yeah, I had one of my last few episodes, Chris was on. Talk to him about some stuff and his little role he had in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, I saw him in there. I said, "Dang, Unc is doing something, man."
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that was him until I reached out to him. I said, "Were you in that movie?" He said, "Yeah, that was me." I was like, "Oh man, you need to come on the show and talk about it." So he did. So,
hey, Well, Kevin, man, I appreciate you coming on, and there's going to be, so for everyone listening, this will be on YouTube, so you can watch on the YouTube live, or the recording on YouTube. But then the audio version will be out sometime this week. I'm going to take out some parts, especially the beginning with the countdown. I'll take that out, but once again, guys, I appreciate you guys listening in. You can find me, Warcry Podcast, on Instagram. Let's see here. TikTok, Warcry Pod. And then if you want to share your story, this is Creepy Part 6, I believe. It's coming out. It's a listener stories. It's coming out in July, so around July 4th. So be getting your stories in, and like I said, I want to say thank you to Kevin Nez for coming on and sharing a lot of information and stories as well. That's kind of what we do here. But I appreciate him, and guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Yep. Peace, everyone.